We are still in Project 5. This is Letterfold Brochures, and we are working now on Stage 2, working with imported images. Most page layout jobs incorporate a number of different elements, images, graphics. They come from external files. We don't have a whole lot of link management options like you would find in a dedicated layout application like InDesign, but you can place and work with a variety of common image formats. You need to, however, understand the output requirements so you use the type of graphics that are suitable for the projects you're building. We're going to work now with putting some layout images into a new file. We're actually going to use that template that we just created. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to open the new template, and make sure you're getting the template. It needs to come up and tell you that it is the Adobe Illustrator template. We don't want to use the original file. What that is actually going to do is open up a duplicate. Of course, we still have all of our layers that existed. It's locked, but this is a copy so that you can use that template over and over again. We are going to add a new layer to this file and name this layer graphics. And with that layer selected, go to File and Place. We want to place the brick and iron TIFF. Then we're going to hold down our Control key or Command on Mac and select the bridge painting, and then skip down to the SFAA file and the SFCT file, and make sure that link and show import options are both selected. Choose place. We're going to get these dialog boxes for the PDF files that we're bringing in. Those need to be both cropped to art. So from the drop down, choose art and say OK to both of those. The files are picked up in the order that we selected them, and so we're going to place our first file on the outside artboard. We can go into our artboards, select outside, and bring that up, and this is going to be set down somewhere near the bottom left corner. You can hold down your Control key. That's going to temporarily give you your selection key, and you can slide that into place on the bleeds for that page. We want to place the second file on the right panel. So I'm scrolling up a little bit, so we want to get that at the intersection of the guide and the fold. If you need to, hold down your Control key and get your selection tool so you can line that image up. With the third image loaded, you're going to click and drag to place this on the top of the outside field. We want it to go within the guide, and when you click and drag, it's going to automatically constrain you to the proper proportions so you can get the size that you need. And the fourth loaded file is going to go in the outside center mailer at the bottom. And we're going to just click down here. Then we need to rotate that. I'm going to hold down my Shift key so I can constrain this to a 90-degree rotation, and then I'll slide this down into the correct location. Next, I'm going to clone the Art and Architecture logo. So I'll select that with my Alt key and click and drag that over to the front panel. Again, I'm going to rotate this counterclockwise. So I'm going to hold down my Shift key to constrain it perfectly. Line this up in the guideline corners on my margin, and then selecting the upper right-hand corner as my reference point, I am going to increase the size of this, and I need to make sure my constraint is on before I do that. 4.95 inches tall, and that's going to enlarge that for the front. Now we're going to work on the inside artboard, and again we're going to go to File and we're going to Place. We want to select the bridge screened, and remember to hold down your Control key and select again the SFAA file and the SFCT files. Again, link should be selected, and you can this time uncheck the show import options. We can place those. The first loaded image needs to be placed so that it fills the entire side, including the bleeds. So I'm going to get this right in the corner and click, and it does fill the entire page. Click and drag to place the second loaded image across the two right panels. So it's going to go from the bottom, so we can actually start at the lower corner and click and drag up to get it to the right size. The third image needs to go on the left panel, and we can scale that to approximately 4 and 65/100ths wide. So we'll just start here. And we'll scale this, and it does overlap onto the other page. So let's just see what we can do with this. And we want the height to be, I want it actually a little too big. Make sure it's proportional. My height, my width, it came very close to the width. My width is supposed to be 4 and 65/100ths, and I want it proportional, so there we go. Then let me drag to place that correctly in the margin corner. You want to save this file now as culture. So we can place a link to an external file, or we can embed the external file data right into the Illustrator file. There are advantages and disadvantages to each method, and so you need to be able to plan ahead of time for what you need to accomplish. When you link to an external file, that file has to be available when the Illustrator file is sent to a printer. If the link file is moved, or even if it's saved as a PDF file, it has to be there. If that file gets moved or changed after being placed into the Illustrator file, you have to locate it, you have to update the link file before you can do any kind of output. Missing and modified images are identified in the links panel with a little caution sign. If you embed an external file, the physical file data just becomes part of the Illustrator file, and it eliminates the potential problem of missing files, but it will make your Illustrator file a whole lot larger. Linked files are easier to update if you have a lot of instances of the same file. And if you edit the original file, then all the placed and linked instances can be changed when the links are updated. But remember that the change affects all the files where the same logo file is being placed. You can embed specific place instances, and then they are no longer linked to the original file data. So you can independently edit embedded instances without affecting other linked copies. Open your layer panel and expand the graphics layer. The graphics layer includes linked, 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 linked. The brick and mortar file is listed differently because of it being a TIFF file. Open up your links panel. If you don't have it available on screen, go to Window and select Links. And you can see that there are a lot of different information pieces that you can get here. There's all of the links that we have, and it tells you what each link is. It also tells you in the panel, I'm going to try and pull mine out a little bit wider so that we can get everything up here. It gives you the location that the file is in. I have the first one selected, and it gives you the location of the file. It tells you the scaling for the size. It tells you the file size, when that file was created, and all kinds of other information that you might want to have about that. It also gives you some possibilities. If this was a file that was kept in the library, you can have to link it. You can relink a missing file using this shortcut. This one will take you to the link. This will update the link if you've made a change and you have a little warning sign. And this will allow you to open up and edit the file if it's an Illustrator or Photoshop file. If you select Bridge Painting and click on Go to Link, it's going to take you directly to the panel. This is a raster image. It's a JPEG. It has a defined resolution. If you resize a raster image, the number of pixels is stretched or reduced, and you will have to factor in that resizing. That's called effective resolution. This file, at the correct size, which we placed in the proper size, it is 300 pixels per inch. Navigating to the inside artboard, if you select the SFCT logo on the left artboard, you can see in the links panel that it's placed twice. This does not indicate where the file is placed. When you select a placed file in the layout, however, it's automatically selected in the links panel as well. We want the address information taken off of this particular instance, but not from the instance that's placed on the outside artboard. So in the control panel, we're going to select to embed this image. It only affected this instance. Because the placed file was an Illustrator file, it's now a native part of the layout file that we have open. When you embed a previously linked Illustrator file, it's converted to a group of artwork objects. The Layers panel now shows the group, and you can expand it to view the individual objects that make up the expanded artwork. This is group file. However, everything that's in there is just group and group and group, and you can see that it's all in there and it's really hard to identify anything. So what we're going to do with this is double click the group on the artboard with your selection tool to go into isolation. Now I'm going to collapse my links panel a little bit to get this out of the way. I want to pick up my direct selection tool, and I'm going to draw a selection marquee around only the address information. Now, unfortunately, this marquee is also going to select the bottom right corner of one of the clipping path objects that's placed on this file. We're going to delete or backspace to remove that selected object. We still have the rest of that mask selected, and since there's only 3 points left now, it's cutting off all of that. The thing is, we don't really need to have that clipping path. It doesn't do anything for us, but it is placed into that when it's imported and then embedded. So we're just simply going to delete the rest of that layer mask. The rest of this artwork is not selected, but we don't need that mask, so we're going to backspace and get rid of it, and it brings back and makes San Francisco Cultural Trust visible again. Now you can either hit the arrow up here in the edit bar to exit isolation. You can use your escape key, or you can just double click away from the artwork, and that will get you out of isolation mode. Your file now has, if we go into links and expand the links, you can see that we have eliminated one of the embedded links for the SFCT file. We have 2 linked JPEGs, 1 linked TIFF, 2 linked Illustrator files, and at the end of this project, we're going to export this as a PDF file, and you're finished with the second stage.